So, again, welcome to all of our new guys. Like I said, we're not actually going to start the game itself tonight. What I'd like to do is kind of give an overview of the world, because I know that a few people are not familiar with it. Run through which characters we have, who we have in the group, and kind of how we want to kick things off, because I'm going to do it a little bit oddly. And from there, any questions or anything like that you guys have, fire away.
I think it should be the new guys, considering I'm at a minority. So it's actually you guys. I mean us guys, really, right? Let's
You're
be
not
inclusive here now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I have the shirt. I have the literally. I have been collecting Golgari stuff since the first Ravnica stuff came out.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas,
I'm a fanboy as well.
what's that?
Whenever I play Magic, I usually gravitate towards Golgari decks. I just love what they usually do.
See,
And-
I
and
actually
I
gravitate.
hate blue. I just want to let that out. I hate anything blue. So
Oh,
if you like blue,
You should not have said that. Should
Blue.
not have said that. Now you're gonna pay for that.
What's better
Yep.
than playing on someone else's turn? I don't understand. It's the
what's
best.
better than playing Magic? Making sure that the other person doesn't play Magic.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
The
You
only thing
have
that
to
can mess with
understand.
your strategy is the other guy
No.
also doing stuff.
Blue is like
Yeah.
is all strategy, and I do like that. I love playing blue. I hate playing against blue.
Okay, I
Yeah.
get you.
Fair,
Yeah,
fair,
fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just throwing it out there. The guilds that I tend towards are Demir,
Mhm.
or Is It, or Azorius.
I do like Azorius because I have a vampire token deck that I am just loving to death.
Or in non-Ravnica settings, I sometimes go red, white, and blue, which can be really,
America.
yeah, it
Fuck
can
yeah.
really mess people up whenever you start doing that. Or even black, white, and blue is also a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can see how that could be.
If you really just want to make sure the other player does nothing, black, white, blue will accomplish that.
I mean, if you really want to make sure the other player does nothing, just sit there and play a split-second deck.
Yeah, done that.
Or Vidalcan Ori, and just say, and then you draw, and you play a land. All right, pass turn.
Do we still have pair, or is it like?
I think his
frozen?
camera's frozen. I don't know if he's completely frozen. He
Yeah,
might
his
have, yeah. But I mean,
Might have
I'm
DC'd.
also. Oh, yeah,
Nope,
he is.
there it is.
I'm also the guy though that made sure that for Legacy, I have an old style Icy Manipulator deck, just to make sure the other guy does absolutely nothing.
Someone mentioned
Does-
that we like blue and Perry just left.
There were some connection issues suddenly.
Yeah.
Blue, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
Fuck blue.
Fuck you, fuck
Do
you.
any of
fuck
you guys play Commander? Or
I do.
On occasion, when I get the chance, yeah.
I do want to get into Commander. I've been watching a lot of Commander, and I saw a Sliver deck build that I'm like, ooh, that sounds like fun.
Sliver Commander just terrifies me.
See, they
Just-
ruined slivers when they brought them back.
I only got into Commander recently, so I like anything past like a year ago. I have zero idea about it.
Well, I mean, Commander or Magic in general, when they re-released the slivers with the amended ability, it destroyed what they were.
Oh,
Because
Well,
when
they can't get from slivers to slivers you control, right?
Exactly. It used to be all slivers. When they brought them back, it was all slivers you control.
Yeah, it was the same thing they did with the elves in Lorwyn, where
Yeah.
it used to be all elves, and then it was elves you control, and you're sitting there going, well, I mean, thanks, but
the whole point of playing a sliver deck was whenever the other guy had 50 of them, and then you started putting them down yourself and getting all of his abilities.
Or when you had things that said slivers get X for all slivers, and then what you would do is just turn your opponent's stuff into slivers.
Yeah. I liked the what was the black sliver from the original ones? They had one that was basically all slivers get minus X, where X is the number of slivers on the table. So if the other guy's playing slivers, you just put that one down, and all of his slivers just start dying off. I think it was a plate sliver or something like that.
I can tell you in 2 seconds because I'm loading the app I use for MTG right now.
Yeah, there were some fun things there.
I started getting curious about how much my actual commander deck was worth, so I downloaded this app where I could put it in, and it'll look on TCG Player and give me the actual price value.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I've not actually bought any Magic cards, any physical cards, in about 3 years now. I predominantly, because I have trouble getting to the nights, play in Arena now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Same here.
Yeah.
Not Frenzy.
But I actually started out, my first deck I ever bought was a 3rd edition
that's the Death Touch
starter deck, and then from there I moved into Ice Age. So that's when I started playing Magic.
Yeah. I've only played Magic, let's see, probably just 3 or 4 times. I started to get into it a little bit, but the guys I played with, they had this long pause in playing, so I just, sort of didn't get back into it.
Yeah, it's hard whenever you're trying to find other physical players, because you either have to arrange getting to them, and if you're spread out, it's a mess.
Yeah. But so I still have my deck and all that stuff.
I think at last count I have somewhere around 70,000 Magic cards.
Oh.
Plague Sliver is the one where if you have enough slivers, it actually kills you.
That's that. Yeah, that's that one. Yeah.
I'm looking at the all the slivers right now, trying to find the one. Punching Sliver.
So I'm looking at the document here, and I think I've sort of changed my mind a little bit on what I want to play.
All right. What do you want to go
for? I think I'm going to go for a Simic hybrid, and join the Simic Conclave. Was it?
Yeah, Simic are definitely interesting.
Combine. Yeah. They're green and blue though. So.
Yeah, but they're not. They're green and blue, not in a way that it's like your opponent doesn't get to play. They're green and blue in a way like I'm going to stall out you while I make my stuff all really big.
Yeah. And I'm thinking
Simic in the game were all about counters. Everything had a put a token, put a counter on everything.
Yeah.
Put a counter on something, move a counter from something, add, take counters away from things to put it on your stuff.
Yeah. And we were level 5, so I think I'm going to play multi-class Rogue Ranger.
Nice. Okay, yeah.
And focus on ranged attacks.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I think we ended up with a fairly balanced party. Which is cool, because when you actually start looking at it, by getting everyone to play a different guild, it's kind of brought people into different mindsets.
Styles.
Different styles.
Yeah.
It's worked out well. So, for anyone who is not overly familiar with Ravnica, Ravnica is referred to as the City of Guilds. Ravnica is actually both the world name and the city name, and the city basically encompasses the entire world.
Good job, Gruul.
So
it was their job to stop that. They didn't do it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was supposed to be their job to stop the city from growing. Yeah, they didn't. They didn't succeed. So now they just try to break the city. Obviously, because having a city the size of the world makes for a map to be kind of difficult, most of the games do center around a specific part of the world city, which, as I believe all of you are looking at now, is the 10th district, which you could kind of refer to as the capital. It is where all of the guilds have their headquarters. It is also where all of the Peruns, or the founders of the guild, kind of originally came together to create the guilds, and where all of the leaders of the guild have their residences. It's definitely a big place. Even when you get it down to the 10th district, it's still a huge metropolitan area. Probably one of the bigger D&D worlds ever mapped out, as far as just sheer scale. I don't want to kind of just ramble off into a tangent on Ravnica itself. Is there anyone who's really completely unfamiliar with Ravnica?
I guess I am, more or less. I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about it.
I'm picturing D&D Coruscant.
Probably a pretty good analogy in the sci-fi realm. The city is built in many layers, so you do have the underground warrens that the Golgari favor. You do have what they refer to as rebel belts, which are areas that were once cities, or part of the city, that have basically been reclaimed by time and fallen to ruins. That's where a lot of the Gruul are now. It's kind of what passes for the wilderness in this world. And then you have the larger parts of the city, the more built-up areas where you have the Azorius, and you have the Izzet, and you have some of those guilds kind of, in a lot of cases, quite literally taking to the skies. It's a very common thing, actually, within the 10th district to see Azorius knights riding on the backs of griffins. That's completely normal for their police force. So the level and the scale of magic in this world is quite high, and because of that, almost everyone has some aspect of ability, whether it's natural or learned or bought. Things like magic carpets would not be an uncommon sight. Magical means of transportation around the city is quite common. Obviously, with a city of this size, it has to be. That's part of the infrastructure. And each of the 10 guilds, going back to the time of the Guild Pact, basically what happened was that Ravnica had no centralized government.
Sorry, before you start going on with about the guilds, how would a normal level 1 commoner get from Precinct 5 to Precinct 2, for example? Because I'm imagining that's like a day's journey. Like, how would you get about quickly without actually being able to teleport yourself?
Depending on the money you had access to, you could hire a griffin.
Okay.
Or there are, in some parts of the city, I'd actually have to look up Precinct 5, because it's one of the ones I don't know as well. What's in Precinct 5?
It was just
Precinct... okay, yeah, Precinct 5 is the Visopra Bank. So it's the banking district. So there's quite a bit of traffic there. And Precinct 2 is Plaza Avenue. So, I mean, between those, because they're both very built-up areas, there are probably areas there that have teleportation circles between them, where you could just literally walk up to a teleportation circle and once a minute it triggers and moves you across.
Okay.
You know, um, that kind of thing passes for public transport in this city.
Like a bus stop, but teleportation.
Yeah, like a bus stop, but it teleports once a minute.
Just make sure all your limbs are inside the circle before it goes off.
Oh yes, yeah. Another thing to bear down on is you talk about kind of your level 1 commoners, but the ungilded in the city are actually fairly rare. Even your average person, in most cases, at least pays fealty or is in some way associated with usually one of the guilds.
So does it mean that are you born into the guilds, or are you you have to apply for it in some
way? You do have to apply, unless you are part of a lineage. There are some families who have been members of the Boros for 10 generations, at which point, when you hit legal age, when you hit 18, it's just kind of assumed that you just go and you sign the thing and you're a member. There's not some massive procedure for it. Now, if you're a member who's your family's never been Boros, then there might be some hoops to jump through before they actually allow you in.
Mm-hmm.
But in a lot of cases, it's not difficult. The Golgari, and actually this feeds into what I was going to go into as well. Each of the 10 guilds, when it was created 10,000 years ago, the Peruns, the founders, were each the leader of a strong faction of individuals. And the world was tearing itself apart in war. Eventually, these 10 came together and made a deal. They created the Guild Pact. And this was a magically binding agreement among the 10 guilds to basically say, look, each of us will have our own areas. Each of us will have our own function within the city.
Mm-hmm.
Each of the guilds took on a job, basically. And the Guild Pact magically enforced a balance between the guilds. It would not stop a fight between a member of an Azorius and a member of Rakdos, but if the two of them tried to go to war with each other, they would be magically prohibited from doing so. The magic of the contract itself would prevent that from happening. It was a law that was magically unbreakable. And for example, just throwing some of them out there, the Azorius were tasked with being the lawmakers. So they are for lack of a better term, politicians, the judges. They also have a police force. They are the ones who keep the laws and who draft the laws of the city. The Boros are the military. As opposed to the Azorius police force, the Boros are actually the military that actually are charged with stamping down larger insurrections or with keeping public order from, say, for example, rioting. House Demir are the Messengers Guild. It is their task to move information about the city. There are, of course, rumors that the Demir do more than pass messages. Some people think of them as quite shady and quite secretive, but their actual job is to keep the flow of information. The Golgari are actually, their primary job is feeding the city. No one goes hungry.
2 jobs. We're also waste management.
Well, yeah, they are also
right?
Yeah. No one goes hungry in Ravnica. You could be the poorest, most destitute person in the world, and you will not go hungry.
Just don't ask us what's in the food.
Exactly. Yeah.
Soylent Green is that?
is food in some circles.
No one wants to know what goes on in the Golgari rot farms, but
Yeah.
they produce enough food that no one in the city goes hungry, no matter how poor they are.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's a good thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Gruul, as we kind of already hinted at in the previous, were originally tasked with ensuring that the city did not overtake the wilderness. Obviously, they failed miserably in their job. The city is now the entire world, and because of that, they are quite angry and upset.
But they have a
And
small habitat, right?
well, there are small green areas.
Yeah, like a
Um,
garden.
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, that goes into one of the goals that comes later on as well. But their original thing was actually to keep the borders of the city and to protect those that were outside the city, which, like I said, they failed miserably. And because of that, they've basically fallen into a pack or a series of clans of basically rampaging barbarians out to destroy as much of the city as they can to reclaim it for nature.
Mhm.
So very few people like the Gruul, surprisingly. The Izzet League were tasked with the maintenance of the city. So if you see a construction crew rebuilding a road or repairing a building or making sure that the teleportation circles are functioning correctly, those are all the Izzet.
How about we remake this road by blowing it up?
Often, yes. They are a bit mad with their science. They do tend to learn more from studying the exploded pieces of something than by studying the thing
As one
itself.
should.
Guess we
As
skip
once-
them playing.
Exactly. Yeah. But their actual job, according to the Guild Pact, was to maintain the infrastructure of the city. The Orzhov are a bit of an interesting one. Their original mission was actually to be tasked with the spiritual well-being of the city, and somehow or another they parlayed that into being the bank. So they are both the spiritual representation of the church and also the administrative arm behind the bank.
Makes sense.
Because, yeah, those go perfectly together.
Control the mind. I mean, control the heart and control the wallet.
Yep, that's all you need. And something that the Orzhov are very well known for is if you get into debt with them, your debt does not die when you do. And they do traffic in the spirits of people who owed them money. And you
hope
may
that we
find
find
yourself-
your body first.
You better. You definitely want to find the body because if you owed a debt to the Orzhov, you may find your spirit repaying that for the next 5,000 or 6,000 years. Even to the point of things like they have ghosts that job is to work for 1,000 years as a bank teller. Yeah, just imagine that one.
That's not a bad gig, all things considered.
Oh, you're also forgetting something too. They will also take the bodies of the people that owned them money and turn them into thralls.
Okay.
That too. Yeah, they will also enthrall the bodies and use them as messengers or delivery boys or mix them together into a homunculi and yeah. Don't borrow money from the Orzhov. Just don't do it.
Doesn't matter if you do though, because even then somehow you still owe them money.
Well, yeah, but it's a lot easier for them if you just go borrow it. The Rakdos, the cult of Rakdos, are a very interesting one because their original job in the Guild Pact was to make sure that no one establishment ever gained too much power. To actively be a force of chaos to tear down the mighty in order to help build up the weak. Somehow or another, they've parlayed that into a series of circuses and performances and blood shows. Yeah, basically anarchy. Yeah, exactly
Hey.
right. They are quite literally led by a demon. Rakdos is a demon prince.
That guy locked out of the whole
Oh, no.
demon deal.
Oh no, he's cursed.
How? That's a great
He-
gig.
He keeps
he
going
is
back into
cursed.
slumber.
He is cursed that he cannot basically move on from being the patron of this guild. His eternity is to be the patron of this group.
Well, it's not only that too. It's the fact that he literally just keeps going back to sleep.
Yeah. He's really bored with things. and one of the big goals of the guild is to perform bloody and entertaining enough shows to wake him up.
That's nice.
Yeah.
This is like
So-
a
so
group
yeah.
activity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they have shows where they, dismember people while on a trapeze, and
That's
why not?
entertaining. Quality entertainment.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Tuesday in America to me.
Well, yeah.
Florida man.
Dude, I live in Jersey. I don't know what part of America you're talking about.
The Midwest. The only thing we have is wheat fields and cornfields.
Fair enough.
I'm from Louisiana. Have you ever been to Mardi Gras?
No.
Don't get him off track.
All right, hang on. I need to find White
Rakdos
white flag.
Rakdos blood shows,
on that
Mardi
one.
Gras. Yeah.
You went on that one.
Moving on from the Rakdos, then we have the Selesnya Conclave. Now, these guys are actually the ones now that keep the forests, for the most part. If you find a massive green area, it's likely a Selesny one. They are healers. They are monks. They are, for most people's taste, annoyingly good.
Agreed.
And their job, or their self-appointed mission, is to bring everyone into balance and make everyone one. That's actually epitomized by their guild leader, who is actually 3 dryads who have grown together into one lower half by melding themselves to what they refer to as the tree that has the soul of the world in it.
Tristani. One of the most annoying magic cards in existence.
Yep. And one of the most annoying people to meet. I'll tell you that off the bat before you even go see her. Hers.
Stop talking, all 3 of you at once. It's giving me a migraine.
Yeah. Following on from that, then, we have the Simic Combine. Now, these guys, actually, their original role was to preserve and protect the world's natural ecosystems. So they also kind of failed. But what they do now, for the most part, is to use their resources to... What did you do?
I don't know. I press buttons and stuff happened. I'm just embracing the is it way, alright?
Experiment.
Use
What does
Skype.
this button?
They're buttons.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit them before reading the manual, alright? That's just...
Fair enough.
I'm very much in character right now. That's all.
So the Simic, having failed at preserving the world's natural ecosystems, decided the next best thing would be to create some new ecosystems by creating some new creatures. And they went into bioenhancement and genetic engineering and started mixing people with sharks and manta rays and crabs and, as you do.
As one does, yes.
Yeah. And that basically became the status quo for, as I said, 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, the magic of the Guild Pact, the preserving document that kept everything stable, began to degrade. The Guild Pact began to fail. At which point, of course, the guilds went to war again. As you do.
As you do.
Thanks, Jadek.
Well, Niv Mizzet had quite a bit to do with that as well.
Did he though? Because as far as I remember, the whole reason why it broke was because Jadek caused it where the Dimir were known, and originally they were not supposed to be known.
Well, granted, yes, but Niv Mizzet was the one that stirred the pot as it broke.
Fair enough.
So, although Yadek might have been the one that broke it, Niv Mizzet was the one that started the war. Now, ironically, he started the war because he was looking for a 10,000-year-old puzzle that Azor, the author of the Guild Pact, had apparently hidden throughout the city. Something referred to as the implicit maze. And it was at that time believed that at the heart of the maze was a weapon or an item of ultimate power. So Niv Mizzet wanted that, and he threw the entire city into war to cover the fact that he was looking for it. Unfortunately for him, others were looking for it as well, and this culminated in basically the guilds having champions competing in a race, for the lack of a better term, to solve the maze and find the power at the center. Which, annoyingly for all of the guilds, ended up being found by Jace Beleren, who was not a member of any of the guilds. Jace, even for those who do not know Magic, is the best Magic character and the best Magic card ever created.
That's what Wizards wants us to believe.
Hey, I love playing Jace decks. He's great. Mind Sculptor is one of the best cards ever written.
Skullclamp.
But basically, Jace found the power at the center of the maze, and what he actually discovered was that it was a way to repower and to renew the Guild Pact. And in fact, he actually became the Guild Pact. He became a living embodiment of the law of Ravnica. So what he says becomes unbreakable law. The problem is...
I have a feeling I should write this down, whatever he says.
Yeah. You notice that my icon in the game is Jace. You know, not that I'm hinting at anything there. The problem is that Jace, the living Guild Pact, the embodiment of the law of Ravnica, seems to often disappear for months at a time. Which kind of sucks.
He is a planeswalker, so.
But they don't know that.
Yeah.
Does that last?
I think there's one person on the entire plane that knows he's a planeswalker.
Does that mean that the law stops working or stops applying when he's not there, or he's not?
The problem is, no one actually knows when he's there or not. He just goes silent, and then no one sees him. So sometimes that might mean that the magic of the laws is not in effect, or other times it might still be in effect, even though you don't see him.
Isn't it an easy way to find out? You just go over to a opposite guildmate and just try to stab him and see what happens?
No, because as I said before, small conflict still works.
Just all out
go
war.
around and stab a lot of people then.
Yeah.
Right?
Just start a war and see if it works. Yeah.
Are you Izzet or are you Rakdos? Come on.
Aren't there spells to see if...
At hard time both.
Can't I? Well, I know there's like scry spells and such, and it only works if something's on the same plane.
The problem is that he can block most of those.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. It makes it very difficult to figure out what's going on, which
Especially since he's so
confuses a
powerful.
lot of people.
Especially since he's such a powerful mage, it's like it failed. I don't know if he countered it or he's not on this plane.
Yeah. He is a powerful mage, known as a mind mage, with the powers of a god, and the voice of absolute law.
Guessing that's
So
the Dimir are actually trying to might have a good tab on when he's there or not, and are using that information.
Even his assistant doesn't know when he's there or not. He'll just be like, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. She's waiting like an hour.
There's a call like
Oh.
I'm looking for Jace. I'm afraid I can't take your call right now, but stay put for 5 minutes or 5
Yeah.
months, and we'll get right back.
well, the other thing is he can also just go, copy. Are you talking to him or are you talking to a copy?
Is he in right now? I don't know.
Where like his assistant goes in to talk to him, and it's just the copy who's having like pre-recorded dialogue, and she's like,
Yeah.
Damn
it!
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Or he'll put an image of himself in the office going through paperwork with a trigger that when someone opens the door says, "Not now, I'm busy."
The Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
But as this game begins, the main of where we will actually be starting the campaign is that the guilds have, many of them through various independent means, discovered either prophecies or scientifically worked out or through whatever means it may be, have found out that something is happening to the magic of the world. The magic of Ravnica is being diminished. It is being depleted by something. And as this has started, the Guild Pact has gone silent. Completely and totally. And in this, each of the 10 guilds has chosen a representative to work together to figure out this mystery. And those representatives are you lot. And that is where we will be picking up the beginning of the game proper. Now, I say the beginning of the game proper because before we do that, what I'm actually going to do, I think all but one of you are aware of this, is that all of you, in addition to your main character, have followers. You will have a number of lower level characters equal to your charisma modifier, which I'm laughing now as I see the "who needs charisma anyway" comment.
You get one.
How do I get
You-
-2 followers?
You get a minimum of one follower.
All right.
No matter how low your
arch
charisma.
enemies because of that. Congratulations.
How many charisma-based people do we have in this party? Like, that's not like.
A lot.
And how many have 20s?
I think we have a couple plus 5s, a plus.
I'm
4.
one of them
Yeah.
because I rolled.
There will be a
118.
lot
Well,
of followers involved, and they will not all be just following you around together all the time, but they will be people that you can send out to get information. They will be contacts. They will be allies. They will be sources of information. But what we're actually going to do before we begin the main game is each of you will have built a follower at level 1, and then any additional followers you can go ahead and put at level 3. But that level 1 follower that you've created, we're actually going to run through a 1 to 2 session starter adventure with those characters before you start playing your main characters. That's going to give you a chance to kind of get into the city, go some places, meet some people, see some things, get a feel for how the city works, a feel for how the game will work before we actually pick up with your main characters, which will then make your main characters a bit more naturally knowledgeable when we start. Everybody cool with that?
Yep.
Could our first mission be to assassinate our main characters?
No.
Ah.
No. It may be a slight spoiler. I hope not. But the first adventure you will be going on is actually going to be the adventure from the Guildmaster's Guide.
I don't know
Krinko's
what that
Way.
means.
Krinko's Way, yes. It's good that you don't know it, Madman. You don't need to know it. You're going to run through it.
idea.
That's right. If this big red button says don't press it, I will.
I
correct.
know it,
That.
but because of how much of it can be randomly generated, me knowing it does absolutely nothing.
Cool.
Yeah. Basically, the premise of that starter adventure will be a goblin gang boss has broken out of prison, and your group, so your level 1s, are sent to find him and bring him back. It's a very straightforward adventure with a lot of randomly generated fun that will take you to a number of different areas of the city and, like I said, allow you to get a feel for things before you actually pick up your main characters. I don't figure it'll take us any more than 2 sessions to run through it. Yeah, there he is, Krinko.
What a handsome fella.
Oh yeah, he's a lot of fun.
He makes too many goblins, he must die.
Yes.
Oh, it's a she, sorry.
Yeah. If you ever played Magic the Gathering against that card, it's annoying as hell. Just goblin tokens and goblin tokens everywhere. So that's basically where we're going to pick up. Does anyone have any questions for me now that we're kind of...
There was one thing that wasn't clear about the listing or about the anything else, and that is this weekly or bi-weekly?
Weekly, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Every Monday night at this time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about that, that's all.
I thought I had ticked weekly, but I'm not sure where it actually displays that.
I didn't see it, so what it might do is just because you ticked weekly, when the time that you have scheduled for the game comes up and passes, it just reposts it for the next time.
No, I still have to repost that every week. It doesn't automatically do that for me.
Okay, roll 20.
Oh. Yeah, so I don't know what it does. It asks you when you create the listing, is it a weekly game, bi-weekly, or monthly? But then I don't think it actually displays it. So, yeah.
One other thing, because I know that when those cards were being made that you're using as for the opening,
yes.
Are we actually getting the charms as part of our character sheet? Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just show you. Oh, not those. That's the tokens. Obviously, I've got one more of these to make because I have not had time or artwork yet. But these cards, for Madman, for anyone who's played my games before, I keep a kind of a front screen. So if we're not on a battle map or not on a map, I'll put you on this page. It just gives you each a reference of the other characters, kind of a visual cue. The other thing that I'll put on here is I'll put your XP on this page, so that if you log into the game, you can reference that. Because I do run group XP rather than individual, just because it makes things a lot easier. I'll also put cards for important people that you meet as a reminder, or important contacts who have come out in play, just to make it a bit easier to reference things.
It's a bit of a mindfuck when you think you're talking to a random NPC that you didn't write down the name or anything, and then suddenly they get a portrait. You're like, oh, maybe I should. What's your name again? Okay.
Oh, I've already So this is how in depth I get with my D&D games. Right now, I have, because I have 2 monitors, behind the chat call, I have a OneNote open that I've been setting up ready for major NPCs and everything and all of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, just as a reference, I'll actually show you a clip of the page from the last game that I ran.
While you're doing that, could we designate a party loot sheet treasurer by now?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, could.
I kind of assumed, without knowing any better, that it would be Taylor because he's the Orzhov.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying maybe Taylor wouldn't be the one that usually does it.
Yeah, I tend to be the person who does it because I like to have all the loot in perfect order of the armor, all the weapons, all the gold, all the potions.
I'm happy with you doing it. I was more.
I get OCD with my loot.
That's perfect because I have a problem with people all writing down their own version of it, and then you don't know what gold is where and who took what.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And
so you get duplicates.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you will notice, everyone other than Ivorn will have noticed that you each have your own folder in the note cards. I'm actually just going to pick on Dovin here for a second. So, Ivorn, once you get your character built, you'll have one of these as well. And it basically will detail it will have your character sheet, any background or class-related extras, any magic items that you have, any followers. So you will have a kind of a detailed folder for all of your character's stuff. And as you gain new magic items, I'll add them to that folder. That way you have that as a reference, and I have that as a reference.
Okay.
So I try to be as organized as possible. It doesn't always succeed every time. But I am a business analyst by profession, so I like things to be organized. You will find probably that I use a lot of note cards and a lot of handouts. Madmen will be able to attest from previous games. At one point in the last game, we had a folder called Rumors. And they were about... By the end of the game, because they just kept finding out things and then moving on and not following them.
We didn't want to investigate anymore, Casey. There were too many rumors. There were too many.
They had about 70 open quest lines at one point. On each on their own.
Oh God.
Yeah. We walked into
As an MMO player, that would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
We walked into a new town. We're like, oh, you're hearing rumors. No, we don't. Shut up. We have focus. And then like, oh, there's a gold in that area. Well, gold is nice. And then you get off track.
Yeah.
See, I'm someone who loves side quests too. So like,
we were 7 side quests deep from uncompleted quests, and somehow like. Okay, now we're solving a murder conspiracy, but we just wanted to go on a ship, and we're walking inland, and I don't know what's happening anymore, and the people want to kill us because we did a thing at the tavern. We just passed through. I mean, we just added a list of things that want to kill us without actually getting them resolved.
Yeah, I mean, here I'll actually share that with the chat as well, just because. Yeah. And the other thing was that we got to a point that everyone knew different rumors as well. Not everyone knew everything. So that's just part of it.
Huh.
And the group just seemed reluctant to complete anything last game. So They just kept going around and finding out different quests, and then they'd go and they'd investigate it. They'd find out a little bit, enough to give it a note card, and then they'd go on to the next thing. So, yeah, I do document a lot, and I do try to make sure that information is there for you. if you want it. I will also say, because you guys have not gamed with me before, that if you enter a new town, and we do have a rumors area, I've not decided if I'm going to do one for this game or not. I probably will, just because it tends to happen. It's very likely that if you enter a town, you spend the night at the tavern, you talk to your contact, the next session you may just find that 2 or 3 new rumors have appeared in the list, and that you have access to those note cards. And I won't always highlight those in the session. And then at that point, it is your choice if you want to look into those and investigate them further, or if you just want to ignore them, like the last group did. Yeah. Really, I think what we ought to do, because we've gotten through the world stuff quicker than I thought. Ivor, how are you progressing with your character? Have you got any questions there?
Well, I'm right now sitting on D&D Beyond, just putting it up as a sort of a preliminary, just to get everything in order. Because I'm not super familiar with everything in 5th edition just yet. I've played it for 1 year almost, but I'm more used to Pathfinder and D&D 3.5.
I'll be honest. I don't know everything to do with 5th edition.
All right.
I played 3.5.
Kim appeared.
Kim.
Yeah, sorry. So this is the second week in a row where I fall asleep during the day and suddenly the thing doesn't call.
Yeah, they've messed with that now. I'm not sure what.
Dude, the excuse that we're stuck at the office was a much better one. So you.
Yeah, no.
We gave you that excuse originally.
Yeah. No. This is me falling asleep and not waking up. Hi, guys. By the way.
Hello.
Guys,
Hello.
Kim, our other player. Kim, you've missed all of the world introduction.
Yeah, that's fine. I know Ravnica.
Okay, fair enough. You can also rewatch the call because I will be posting. So, I've also talked with the new guys a bit about kind of how I'm going to run the game. Mm-hmm. So things like the magic item folders, which I started doing in the last game that you were in, so that's no problem. The rumors note cards that I've already told them that none of you wanted to complete. You just wanted to collect all the rumors.
Oh.
The homepage for the homepage for characters and NPCs and all of that. The next thing I really wanted to do is, while Ivorn is still building his character kind of in the background there, I'd like to get you guys that already have them to introduce your characters.
Our follower or our actual main character?
Your actual main character, just so that we can kind of get a feel for those initially. So, just because I'm picking on them in the order I've got them on the page, let's start with Zedric.
All right. Cedric Olfheim is a human sorcerer, and he is of the Izzet Guild. He kind of accidentally stumbled into his position because a bunch of experiments that were not supposed to pan out actually did, and that actually gained him some recognition. Then he was an assistant in a project where the supervisor died, and he kind of picked it up and he gained all the credit. And now he's just taking things as they go, and he hasn't really figured out why he has the kind of middle management role that he has now, because his mindset is really like, I'm actually right here, I'm with these guys up here, and I should not be here. But I don't want to tell anyone because they might notice, so I'll just go with it. So that's his kind of vibe, and he's very much the kind of guy who likes to do and not read the instruction manual. So if there's a
puzzle, a fairly typical Izzet.
Well, yeah, clearly. And if there's a puzzle, I mean, obviously blasting it with fireballs until the puzzle is no more there is the best solution to a puzzle. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that will be
you in You and Dovon are gonna get along great.
I'm
Okay,
guessing you're saying that because you're the direct opposite, or
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
cool. Right. Yeah. So I think that's the general gist of Cedric. Kind of just happened to be here. He's glad to be included.
Favorite enemies. I'm just flipping through a couple of things now for some suggestions, Ivor.
Yep.
Or in the meantime, his favorite cake is chocolate cake. He likes long walks on the beach. Rainy days are nice, but unless you're outside.
I would ask if he's a painter, but I have a feeling like anytime he tries, he just burns the canvas.
Well, he's a. Oh yeah, I should mention he's a wild mage. So,
Oh god.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun.
Yay.
Oh, yeah.
and is it wild magic sorcerer?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, I read is it, and I was like, wild sorcerer. That's the only thing I know. That I'm gonna do everything around that.
God.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna do everything to trigger that wild surge as often as possible.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh
Whenever
god.
I cast magic, takes 10 steps back. Or fireball on location, that's 30 steps back.
Yeah, I'll actually even point out here, just because it will come up at some point, I'm sure. I normally in my games don't allow the lucky feat, because it just got to the point that everyone took lucky and it was really overpowered. But in this case, I actually had a chat with Madman before the game, and I've allowed him to take the lucky feat on the caveat that when he uses lucky, the next time he casts a spell, it then automatically triggers his wild magic.
Oh god.
Without roll, it's a 1.
Yeah.
It's a guaranteed
Yeah.
1. And
so he automatically rolls on the wild
and
magic.
I'm gonna have my character not knowing that. So
Well,
I mean, it's a good counterbalance.
That's somehow how luck works.
Yeah.
Something great happens, and then something else happens.
It's like a hangover. You drink too much, and you take away the happiness from the following day.
Yeah.
This guy's gonna forget it and do it all. Oh, yeah, it's exactly right, man. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that is Zedric. Moving on, then we'll introduce Velen.
Hi. So, I was late to the party. Velen is quite an unlucky fella, to be honest. But not too bad. He's more stupid than unlucky. He started off as a kid. He was lord in the Boros. His family is a noble family within the Boros Legion, and he was destined since he was a child. He was one of the few that got the Azori blessing from the Azorius, and he was destined to be one of the commanders in the future. 18 years old, he said, no, I'm just gonna join the army and fight. Day 1, run in. He gets trapped by a Demir guildmage, forced to lie on the floor, breathing the mephatic gases, and almost died. Hence, being corrupted in his appearance. Lost his pupils, lost his skin, lost his hair. Everything turned ashen. He was almost dead until a little fella called Jurgen saved him. That's when he decided that his life was over. So, 18 years of age. Got recruited by a different subsection within the Boros Legion, which is less known. Mainly there to hunt mages and evildoers of any kind. So if any sort of curse, any sort of thing that would corrupt any other being, he is there to take care of and get rid of. So my brain is kind of half dead since I'm still waking up. But basically, he is a witch hunter. It's really simple, because of the fact that he was cursed by a witch himself. Mainly because he was stupid. But nothing else. He is as dumb as they come. He doesn't have much in the terms of brain power. He's very charming, extremely charming. He could talk his way with any lady, and he probably has muscles to bear, but he doesn't really understand simple things like don't charge in. So he's your typical Boros. He doesn't understand completely why he shouldn't break the law and kill the mage right there in the center square garden, for example. That doesn't make sense to him. If that mage is evil, he kills it. And that's why after that, Azorius sent him a follower, which I just mentioned, that will make sure that he doesn't break the law. So one of his followers is an Inquisitor that actually follows him around, makes sure that he doesn't break the law, because he's done it quite a few hundred
So your
times.
probation officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, his probation officer, basically.
He's got a probation officer following him around because he is the type of person that he doesn't really understand why. It doesn't make sense to him.
That's very inspiring from a lawbringer. Like, oh, that's my probation officer right over there. He's making sure I don't fuck up. Now I'm gonna judge you.
No.
Well, no, the Boros are not. Don't judge people. The Boros are the army. They are the shock troops.
I'm gonna execute you.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
executioners every time. So he has a saying together with his probation officer that he just looks at someone. Can I kill him? And he points him out, and it's like, yes.
Gotta
I
hope this
off
guy
he
doesn't
goes.
get mind controlled.
He's a force of nature.
Mind control the probation officer. Yes.
Gonna kill this guy.
Well,
Kill him
he's a force of nature. Don't get me wrong. He is really powerful because he was trained to be powerful. He just doesn't understand what he is. So every time something is corrupted, he just removes it, and everybody else is super confused because he finds artifacts that are really difficult to do anything with. That people lock into basements, and he just touches it, and the corruption goes away. And nobody understands how he does it. He doesn't really understand it himself. He just does it, and that's how he works.
Okay. So that is our Boros. Next, we have Taylor's character. Taylor is the guy, as I said, who's not with us tonight, due to some family stuff. He is playing Lucien Vey, who is a priest or a cleric of the Orzhov. So he actually is more the clerical, the cleric, the temple side, rather than the banking side. Although the Orzhov really don't differentiate the two that much. I don't have the full background on him yet, so I won't try to go into it and mess it up. But just so that you...
Go ahead.
God is money, money is God.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, basically, that's the entire Orzhov philosophy. Yeah.
That sounds like a pimp line.
Well, it is. They are pimp. They're like
They are.
nothing else. All of
They
them.
do sell people, so I mean, yeah.
Really Catholic mafia, is that it?
That sums up the Orzhov quite well, actually. Yeah, they're an interesting group.
I'm just
And they
envisioning
are-
like nuns. Like, go. Like, it would be a shame if something were to happen to your soul.
Well,
As the Sicilian sitting here, I'm a little sad about this.
but isn't it like the higher you go up, the more vampires they become as well?
Sometimes there are quite a few vampires among them. Well, and it is public knowledge that they are ruled by the Obsidian Council, who are a group of powerful, long dead ghosts. That is their leadership. They don't have to worry about their guild leader getting assassinated because he already dead.
And yet,
I will also say from the magic perspective, from the game perspective, one of the best cards ever.
which one? There were like
The Obsidian Council. That if it's going to take damage, instead of it taking damage, you can choose to exile it until the beginning of your next
RTR
turn,
one.
where it comes back.
Yeah.
It's
It's really powerful.
so annoying.
Game-wise lore too, they have been assassinated.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
in Allegiance,
But-
the
yeah.
what's her name from Conspiracy?
yeah. We don't have that lore yet, so they haven't been assassinated.
Yeah.
This game will be taking place basically after Dragon's Maze,
Okay.
but before the new Ravnica block.
Yeah, the first thing I asked Katie about before we came in was what year are we in? Because it's really important to know. So he told me it wasn't temporal portals everywhere, so we're all good. That's a win.
Now, as I said to Kim, out of character, depending on how well you do on this whole mission to fix magic, who knows what might happen? You might end up causing that. That'd be fun.
God.
That reaction was exactly what I was looking for.
Oh god.
If anybody knows anything about Ravnica lore, you know exactly what he's talking about, which is really annoying.
Burn all the babies.
Yeah, I will also throw out for you guys that although I don't have plans for it specifically in this game, I am also a massive, huge fan of a certain. Where is he? Yeah, here we go. I'm a huge fan of a certain someone.
I'm not saying it's weird, but it's a bit weird by now.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
What's wrong with having a wooden statue of Cthulhu on your office?
That's not
Okay.
weird.
Nothing wrong at all.
Worshipping it, like, and saying
Yeah,
prayers to it, I
you'll
think
hear some reference to this
Yeah,
in
it's
the
like-
games, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry in advance.
some calls are starting early, and you go, with the
Yeah,
Necronomicon in hand. We're like,
I have the
Cthulhu for
Necronomicon
dog.
right next to my bedstand.
It's my bookshelf just off camera, just that way. It's sat on there, along with the complete works of Lovecraft and a couple other.
Funny you
Yeah.
mentioned the complete works of Lovecraft.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
it can never be too far
I
away.
keep-
There you go.
I keep this by my computer because sometimes like things will load really slow on my computer. Just the thing's old,
You
and
can
I'll just
never
like
go
start
wrong with
reading
Lovecraft.
random things. Oh,
Yeah.
Got impact damage.
So I mean, that
Sideways.
may creep into Ravnica at some point. Who knows?
Oh, that's great. That's all we need. Eldrazi.
Anybody that doesn't know
Hey,
this,
there is
we've
nothing wrong with the Eldrazi.
We had a 4-long-year campaign against these mother. He's hard to get rid of, okay? And like we blew up star systems, and we couldn't even get close to touching him. So he is really hard to get a hold of.
It's
Just-
almost like
you
he's
know,
an ancient god or something.
Funny thing about being an ancient chaos that predates the gods,
Mm.
you're hard to get rid of. Really?
So I think we got off track.
Yeah, just a little
well,
bit.
I mean, it filled the gap of Taylor's character that we don't know much about.
Yeah.
So next we will introduce Donovan.
Dovin.
Dovin.
Dovin is a spore shaman of the Golgari swarm. He walks with a little bit of a limp because he was kind of caught in an explosion where some Mig thought it'd be a great idea to check the integrity of one of the walls by his rot farm.
I feel persecuted.
It's actually a running joke in one of the servers I belong to, where anytime something goes wrong and there's an explosion, I'll blame the Izzet, and they'll blame the fact that my rot farm was in the way.
Well, the Izzet get blamed for a lot of explosions. That's true.
I'm gonna make sure to be responsible for a
If
lot
it-
of them.
If it's either going to be the Izzet or the Rakdos. It's going to be one of the two.
Yeah.
You know it.
He's kind of a nice. He's like one of those really, really nice guys that you meet that when you first see him, you're like, oh god, and they're like, oh, okay, he's not so bad. He's sort of the slow, methodical thinker where he wants to think everything through before he jumps because to him, The Golgari have nothing but time. I mean, for a spore shaman like him, their next goal in life is to become one of the Diffcaran Liches. So he's got nothing but time. He's got time to sit there and think things through before rushing into action. He has like the weirdest friends that you wouldn't think would be friends. Like one of his friends is a find broker, and he's just like, one of his friends is a find broker that he's like, hey, I need to find a thing, and the find broker's like, all right, give me a day. Or like, he's got a friendly rivalry with a troll, which is uncommon for the Devkaran to like have like actual communications with non-Devkaran and actually be on friendly terms with the non-Devkaran. But it's just like, why? What's the point? We're all Golgari. There's no point in this.
Yeah, just for reference for any who are not aware, because as I know some are not as familiar, the Devkaran are the Ravnica equivalent of the Dark Elves,
which I dislike completely.
Well, I mean, the in D&D terms,
I know why they did it mechanically was they wanted to have all three sub races, but it was very much established in the original Ravnica block that the Simic Elves had all but died out, and Momirvig was the last one. Yeah. So it would have made sense for them to drop the Dark Elves, make the Devkaran Wood Elves, make the Selesnya High Elves. But
it would have, but for the purposes of game terms, they are elves who live underground among the Golgari. They have the light sensitivity. They do not have, and it's very worth making this clear. They do not have the black skin.
No,
they are typically dark haired on average, but they are a very kind of pale, because they get no sunlight, elf.
They can also be seen very much as similar in coloration to wood elves. Matter of fact, the book even says they are very similar in coloration to wood elves.
Yeah.
So like, but to him,
so
like
many of them are darker skinned from pigment, not from light. Yeah.
So to him, there's no point in like the whole thing with the Devkaran and the non-Devkaran, the other creatures of the Golgari. He doesn't see a point in them feuding because, in the end, there are people out there that need the help of the Golgari more than their stupid feuds, and it doesn't serve a purpose for him in the long run. Like, what am I going to do? Make enemies so this way when I do eventually somehow gain power, I wind up getting stabbed? No, I want these people by my side.
Yeah, which has traditionally been a problem for the Golgari, who tend to get powerful and get stabbed. It tends to happen amongst the Golgari quite commonly.
Unless you're Gerard, in which case you get stabbed and then you get powerful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did it the other way around. Gerard, the current leader of the Golgari, is a badass. Is the best way to describe him.
He literally went, "I don't want to be dead anymore."
Yeah.
He was sacrificed. He was sacrificed in a ritual to bring about Rakdos.
Okay.
It was during the original Ravnica block. Isolde sacrificed him to wake up Rakdos. Killed him. He took the place of the sacrifice that was supposed to be the first one, because the first one was his son. Oh. Because the sacrifice required the blood of a guild leader. And at the time, he was the guild leader, but he didn't really have any power at the time, because Savra had dethroned the sisters. Then Savra died. He took control of the guild. He got killed, and then literally just one day goes, "I don't want to be dead anymore," and raised as a lich.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty badass.
Yeah, became a lich through sheer willpower.
Yeah, that's why when everyone's like, "Well, it's obvious Vraska killed Gerard," I'm like, "How?" He literally just went, "I don't want
you die. I don't wanna." Well, that's a good point. I mean, I can't argue that. That's flawless logic right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, if any of your characters die, if you really want to make, like a DC like 90. Nat 20 required.
Stacking. like
Yeah,
after another.
I guess it would be wisdom for willpower kind of thing.
Mhm.
To just decide that you don't want to die. Sure.
Oh,
You know, you can
could
you
we
can, you
say
can follow
could
in
we
his
make it
footsteps.
canon right now if we actually die and do make like 4 crits in a row, we get raised as a lich in the same way?
Sure. Yeah. If you die and you get 4 nat 20s in a row, then you can come back as a lich just from sheer willpower. I will make that canon right now,
Cool.
So
Yeah.
without any recourse to luck feats. Just 4
Sure.
straight nat 20s.
Good.
But with him, the whole reason why he was like chosen to do this was they were kind of hoping either he'd succeed or he'd just kind of go away.
Which didn't happen.
No. Well, no, I mean with Dovin, his whole reason for being chosen for this thing.
Okay.
They literally saw either one of two possibilities. He'll succeed, or they can just get rid of him. He's making too many allies. They need to get rid of him anyway. So
Makes sense. All right, so that's Dovin. We will then move on to Jury.
Jury Judge. Jury Judge is a young-ish human, low 20s of age. His family was of a different guild, and him and his younger brother decided to jump ship and join the flair and chaos that is Rakdos. Jury joined a troupe and got assigned the Pain Artist. Loved it from day one. And he was so good at it that Rakdos himself even saw him perform. And since that day, there was like, I don't know if we would call it connection, but Jury kind of became infatuated with Rakdos and all of a sudden started getting some odd powers.
Favor.
In certain aspects. Favor in a way. And since then, his performances have been off the charts. Off the charts.
Off the
And
church too.
the church too as well, yes.
Yeah.
And he believes that there is no such thing as too much pleasure, and that pleasure is through pain, through both other people and himself. His usual problem-solving situation is make them bleed. Tends to solve most situations. Yeah, he just very sadistic and masochistic at the same time, which is a very odd combination of just pain.
Pain doesn't matter who it is, just pain.
Yep, pain.
Like, oh, we're talking all kinds of pain, like emotional pain.
Oh yeah, because he essentially, like what Casey was saying earlier about Rakdos is, like they like to just torture for fun as part of the performance, but he
Shake things
also
up.
yeah, and he also is good at getting information if need be.
How can you be? Because it's like you're torturing someone, and it's like putting needle under their finger. It's like, see, I'll do it to myself too, just so I can show you how it works.
It's fair.
Fair is fair.
I do think that's probably something he does a lot, where he like carve a symbol or like Rakdos's name on the person's arm, and then he'll do it to himself.
Have you heard the phrase "an eye for an eye"? Let's do it.
I think it's sounding like Dovin's gonna have his handful with this crew.
Dovin's just gonna like get through 3 sections, and he's gonna be sitting in a corner going.
You've got the Boros charging in to save everyone. You've got the Izzet just blowing everything up. You've got the Rakdos just hurting everyone indiscriminately.
I just have this image of like the first time I start like using my my Halo Spores ability to like raise dead, and the Boros just turning around going, "No!" I'm like, the dude tried to kill us like 20 minutes ago. Are you kidding me?
I will also state that Jury is like 6'5", 240 pounds of like pure muscle.
Hey, yeah, but
So he is a intimidating motherfucker to say the
oh,
least.
that's brilliant because you're actually you probably become a few less pounds than me, but other than that, we're pretty much blood brothers then.
Yep.
That works.
Yeah,
And
because
it's also going to be very interesting having the paladin and the ill rigger.
yeah. Essentially, I am the
Opposite.
dark paladin or the edgelord paladin, however you want to describe it.
In fairness, though, we do agree. We just kill anything that doesn't do what they're supposed to right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference
You
between
just
you, and
have
me is
different
that
views on what you think is it's supposed to be doing.
Yep.
yeah, exactly.
You are following the laws. You are trying to be a good person.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Stab.
Just stab.
Yeah. So we are very much in agreement. We're both red. We're both equally chaotic. It's just
Yep.
it's just different purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the characters we've got so far. Where are we at?
We're missing one, I believe.
Yeah. The
Yes, Ilvorn.
Yeah.
Where are you at with your character? Have you got any idea who you're building?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Based on having heard all of this.
Yep.
Imagine being in Astorius with this bunch.
Well, I think my character is probably a bit, shall we say,
sane.
boring compared to some others.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Sorry. Before you
he's,
start, I just want to point out that there's 50% like Scandinavian representation in this chat right now.
Oh, don't start that.
Okay.
Hey, no, you can't count Kim anymore. He defected to UK.
That's true.
Oh,
Can't
I'm sorry for interrupting. I just realized and I wanted to say it.
Yeah, no problem. Well, he's in the Simic Combine, and I'm picturing him as someone who grew up as well. Let's see. I just need to find the sheet here. Well, he grew up on the streets, I suppose, like everyone did. And he's got the urban bounty hunter background. So he's been hired by.
But before you get too far on that,
Right.
It is worth bearing in mind that each of the guilds actually has a guild-specific background that you can choose.
Oh, all right.
That gives you some quite nice things.
Benefits.
I have some cool
Yeah.
shit.
Okay.
I think I found my favorite spell ever in my background.
Like-
Its bolt is amazing, isn't it?
Chaos Bolt is amazing.
Yeah.
That's one of the things
Let
it does is
me-
it gives you access to spells.
Yeah, I
Like
see
the spells that
there
are
is
not-
one called the Simic Scientist. I see.
Yep. That would be your background.
Okay, so I have to choose that one, or
No, I'm
You
just
don't- you
saying
don't
that would
have
be the
to,
background
but
for
it-
your guild.
all right.
You don't have to choose it, but
Yeah.
it does give you some nice things.
An
It
option.
gives you
Let's see.
Arcana and Medicine proficiencies, 2 languages, and as a Simic researcher, you are part of a clade. You can roll a d6 or choose from the options below to find out what clade you're on. Researcher allows you to learn or attempt to recall magical items or scientific facts. Here, I'll just show this. Has that popped up for you?
Let's see. No, I don't. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It also allows you to cast Simic Guild spells.
Oh.
If you can cast any spells. So you
Yeah.
would Acid Splash, Druidcraft, Detect Poison and Disease, Expeditious Retreat, Jump, alter self, enhance ability, enlarge, reduce, gaseous form, water breathing, wind wall, freedom of movement, polymorph, and eventually creation.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take your guild background, but they do give you some quite nice things. I would say, in my own opinion, I think these backgrounds are probably generally more powerful than the standard backgrounds.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a scientist per se.
No.
That's just kind of the catch-all for the Simic.
All right.
Yeah.
I was picturing him as a bit more like a hands-on guy, not so much cerebral, if you will.
So you could have very easily joined up with one of the Clades as an enforcer for the scientists, or as a something of that nature, very easily as well.
Yeah. Because I was thinking like an urban bounty hunter, where he has spent a lot of time maybe hunting down some failed experiments that the Simic have created.
How am I somehow the bad guy in all of this? We have a guy who's torturing people, and somehow it's a Simic order who gets. Oh no, sure, it's fine.
He said
No, he said
organisms
failed
that the
experiments.
Simic created.
Yeah.
Experiments
the
of the
Simic create
Simic.
hybrid people, and he could be hunting them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Bear in mind, Madman, that the Izzet and the Simic are both scientific orders.
Yeah.
The Izzet like to tinker with machines. The Simic like to tinker with people.
Okay. Sorry. My bad. I jumped to conclusions.
Can we take? Sorry, I am very curious. Are you what part of you are experimented on?
Well, I am. I've got this heavy chitinous armor on my entire body, and I guess I look a bit arachnid in appearance. I have the ability to climb on walls, and I have an exoskeleton basically. But I'm very dexterous. So
yeah, this is not gonna go well over.
I haven't been looking to find a proper portrait just yet, but I'm thinking if you manage to picture like an Umber Hulk, or somewhat like that, not as big or not as powerful, of course, but I'm like a Spider-Man. Almost.
So do you also do the
yeah, except I do it with a bow instead, so I just draw the
Gotcha.
Yeah. When it comes to like backstory, I haven't nailed anything down more just yet, because I don't know that much about the setting just yet, but I'll have a look into it and see if I can find out a bit more.
Yeah, you joined like 30 minutes before the game, right? So
yeah,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so all of us have
in your favor, though, I had 5 applicants come through today, and you were the only one who actually answered the questions I asked.
Well,
notice that with like trying to set up a game on Roll20 where you'll like ask specific things or say specific things, and no one will pay attention to it.
Yeah,
they don't read the description of the post, and they don't, because that's why a lot of times you'll see like, please do not copy and paste and answer these specific questions, and you'll still see people who copy and paste.
Oh yeah, and the number of people who posted to say, oh yeah, I'm 18 and I've been playing D&D for a year, and here's my character, and then went off into a whole thing about this character that they'd already built. It's like, you haven't even read what we're playing.
Yeah, and
I had a person, because I was setting up for a Saturday game, and they messaged me and they're like, well, I looked at your character creation things, and I'm not really a fan of the rolling or using the standard array, which is what I was using. Can I use point buy? Because this is what I get with point buy. And I'm like, no, I don't want to use point buy because it's too easy to min-max with point buy, and I'm not a fan of that.
yeah.
Okay, but if you change your mind, here's what I get with point buy. I'm like, and no.
Yeah.
People so self-centric as well. Why can't people just
Talk about me. Yeah, I agree. We should all just
Talk about that
sorry.
fantastic beard. Yes,
Thank you.
I
Yes.
fully agree.
Yes,
So-
please on. Yeah.
Dolan? I don't know if you're testing your cheat, but put it to self only when you start to looking at things. I do see that you're a Druid 3 Wizard 2 though, which is
I was trying to switch something on my sheet real quick, and for some reason it was
I
clicking that. I think it was like Roll20 just being Roll20.
yeah, I do that
Be honest, Roll20 being Roll20.
Well, I have a question here because I've played in another campaign on Roll20, and the DM there managed to import the sheet from D&D Beyond. Do you know how to do that here? Because it's already set up on D&D Beyond now, so it would be easier to just transfer everything over.
I'm not. Let me.
Magic of technology.
Wait.
Transfer.
Actually, D&D Beyond create Roll20 templates. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I can see light in Casey's eye now. He's like, wait, how do you know how to do that?
I'm trying to look up now.
Per,
There's apparently some.
we are,
scripting.
as he said though, we are starting off with our level 1 characters. So, do you also? We know you just made a character like right during all of this, but do you want to make another one?
Well, I don't mind. A level 1 character is easier and faster to make, but
I have Anders Johnson here who doesn't have a high stat. I think his highest stat is 12.
oh, but so we're well, the character I created now, that's the main character, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're not supposed to start out with those.
Well, what we're going to be doing is because I think Kim missed as well. For sessions like 1 and 2, we're going to be playing our level 1 followers through the Kriko's pre-built starter adventure.
Okay.
Just to give you a feel for the world.
Yeah.
And then once we finish that, we will then move into the main campaign with the main level 5s.
Okay.
All right.
It just gives you a bit of a chance to kind of get used to the world and how it kind of all works before moving on to your higher characters.
Yeah, that works. It's a good idea to gives us an idea of how things work.
Yeah, exactly. It also lets you guys meld together and mesh a bit better and get to know each other as well before we jump into the main bit.
So, I want to show you something, man. Look.
I don't want any more dick pics, alright?
This
I have a folder.
is the
It's
picture of
like-
one of my folders.
You're sending raw
I'm not
files
Doc,
also,
okay?
it's just too much. Oh yeah,
Look.
yeah. That one is great.
And that's for my Authorius follower. No, my ESET follower.
Yeah, I had that as an option actually. It was either that one, but that other one was more Sparks, so I was like, yeah, I like Sparks.
I'll take some space.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Ilvorn, I've just sent you a list of 3 items to choose from, and I've started setting up your folder in game as well.
All right. Where did you send the list? On
Skype.
All right. Let's see. I haven't used Skype in a while, so I'm just a bit.
If only I had been proficient with instruments.
Yeah, basically, I don't know if you guys picked up on it yet, but some of you I just gave a magic item to. Others, I gave a choice of items. What I've actually done there is if you look at the Guildmaster's Guide, there are a list of items that each guild values highly. And I've given you a choice of the uncommon items from the valued list for your guild. So that's where those items have actually come from. So these are items that, although they are an uncommon item, they are something that is prized by your specific guild.
All right.
So in my case, I only have, I think, 2 grets. I have the weapon and the key rune.
Yeah, I know you have both of those. Yeah, the weapon was the one that was the prized item. Everyone got their guild's key rune.
Okay.
And everyone got their guild's signet, and then you each got another item that was prized by your guild.
Okay. And I'm going to say I probably use this weapon quite a bit during my performances.
Oh, I'm sure.
Guaranteed.
This is just a very dull knife.
Yep.
Like,
No.
hang on.
No.
Hang on.
It's a spoon.
Yeah.
It's a spoon.
Oh, Robin Hood.
That,
I'm gonna carve
that
out
is
the
that
heart
is
with a
actually how
spoon.
you
Why a spoon though? It hurts more.
it involves basically putting some stuff on D&D Beyond and then running some scripting on Roll20. So it's not something I could do just at this second, but it is something that I will look into doing.
Let me share my screen.
I'm not sure if I've. Well, I'm not that. I've used Roll20 for about a month now, and there are certain parts of the character sheet I still think is a bit confusing.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, so if you see my screen, I put your screen share on. There's a script you can run that is Roll20 dark and just turns the chat and stuff dark.
How?
So, because I get migraines really easily, the bright white from Roll20 just gave me a migraine within like 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So I found this, and if you guys are interested, I can send you the 2 links for it.
Yes.
I can do you one better. There is an add-on for Chrome called Dark Reader. It literally puts everything into dark mode.
Yeah, I also have that, but it screws with the Roll20 map, so it auto, like, it shuts it off. And as a DM, I have the 5e Tools extension as well. It does a lot of cool stuff with it as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, let me get you that link. Madman, do you use Chrome or Firefox?
Chrome all the way.
Chrome?
Right.
Who needs RAM?
Exactly. I have
Yep.
RAM. I'm just gonna give it out like that.
Yeah.
Okay, there's 2.
I'm opening up tabs just for the hell of it. Thank you.
Well, I have 2 skills that are with expertise, and I'm not sure exactly how to set that up in the character sheet on Roll20.
You just
Just
twice.
click on the bubble again.
Yeah.
And it will go
turns
from green
yellow.
to gold.
Yeah.
Or yellow, gold.
And
yellow.
there's the dark
Yeah.
extension.
Dark side. Nice. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Not a problem.
Cool. Because whenever there's an option for dark themed, I'm always going with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will say then, guys, if we have any more questions, shoot them to me now, because as I said, we are just starting out with some introductions tonight, and my wife's been messaging me. She's not very well, so we might call it shortly for this evening, and then we will pick up with the proper introduction game starting next Monday at the normal time.
I mean, I'm good.
Yeah, sounds
All
good
right.
to me.
Cool. All right. In that case, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap up for the night. By all means, any questions, shoot them at me through the week, or put them in the main chat. And until then, I'll see you guys next Monday.
Yep.
Hey,
Enjoy.
Next Monday.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
See you.
Bye. See you
All right.
next
Later
week.
on, guys.
Yeah, goodbye.
Toodles.
Later.